Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome, Hot Takes Goodman and Renck. Avs, impressive win last night, beating the fourth best team in the Western Conference. And that was a beatdown, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, that was a dominant performance. And that's what you want to see this time of year as the trade deadline approaches. It's starting to get real. You know, that the playoffs are not that far away for either of the Nuggets and Avs. And this is what you want to see.
Yes. And you're getting production from your third and fourth lines, which is just as important because you know the McKinnon line is going to score. You know the second line is going to score, but what are you going to get from your third and fourth lines? And I think Parker Kelly should renegotiate a new contract.
Yeah, he looked good, right? And Gabe Landeskog is starting to look more and more like the old Gabe. You know, last thing we wanted was for him to deal with another injury, but he played really well in the Olympics and he's come back. And again, if he's that guy, that is just such a boost. And not only that, just in the room, man, they will never say it, but they're so dependent on his leadership, his toughness, he brings every tangible and tangible to that team. And right now he's really starting to play well. That the timing couldn't be better.
All right, real quick, I want to tell you about the Sportsbook Bar and Grill. You can find them in the DTC, Highlands Ranch in Parker. It is the place that I go. I was just at the DTC location the other night, spent a lot of time, obviously, at the Highlands Ranch location. Food is great. The setup is outstanding place to watch games. And it's a sports bar that was built by sports fans. Jeremy and Judson put together the DTC location over 15 years ago, and now they have branched out to have three total successful locations. Couldn't be a bigger fan of them personally, and certainly what they've done for our community, setting up three great sports bars. The Sportsbook Bar and Grill, you can find them in the DTC, Highlands Ranch, and Parker. Time now for the lead.
The lead is presented by Sasquatch Casino, a family-owned casino that treats you like family.
Running back class has gotten a little bit thinner. Jets putting the franchise tag on Breece Hall. Seahawks will not put the franchise tag on Kenneth Walker. How much do you think Hall's franchise tag is going to recalibrate the market and the price for Walker, Etienne, Rico Dowdle? And when we talk about what those prices could be, you think the Broncos still need to heavily pursue?
They need to certainly kick the tires on all of them. I don't think they're going to pursue Kenneth Walker the way we'd like them to, because I don't think they see him as a three-down back. He's the guy that we talked about on the show gets subbed out even after the backup got hurt. He's just not viewed as a great pass protector. I think he's improved in the pass game. I think some of that criticism is unwarranted. But yes, Breece Hall set the market. It's going to start at 3 times 14 for Kenneth Walker. And now whether he gets that, I don't know, but I guarantee you the floor that they see is probably 3 times 12. And are you willing to pay that? I mean, it's not outrageous, honestly, but do you want to pay that for Walker? I mean, that's the thing. Breece Hall, it's a little easier. He's probably a tick above Walker, despite Walker's Super Bowl performance. I like Etienne. That's the guy to me that checks all the boxes. He's played in 60 of 66 games. Remember, he's missed 6 games in his career. Just last year, Dobbins missed 9. I mean, Dobbins is really good. He just misses half the season every year. It's just unfortunately what it comes down to. So I like Etienne. They've got other options. They're going to be way less, but I just don't think you can be too cheap there because it's so clear, Eric. I don't know how you feel that what's going to hold them back from reaching a Super Bowl is their offense. So if you bargain shop on offense, the risk is enormous.
Right. Well, so let's say Walker goes for $14 million a year. Okay. And of course you can move those numbers around with the signing bonus. I think Etienne, maybe 10, 11 million a year. The one thing that separates Etienne from Walker and from Rico Dowdle is he is considered, I don't want to use the word elite because that's strong, but a very, 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 very good guy in pass pro. You can keep him out there for all 3 downs. Walker, I love, but they need to get one of those guys. Or maybe Algier. I think that's taking it down a notch. But at the end of the day, I think running back is and should be their number one priority. And they cannot go into the draft without a running back. They just can't. Because the running back class for the draft is really thin. And there's one top guy out of Notre Dame, and then maybe his backfield mate would be number 2. He would probably be there at number 30. But after that, it is a crapshoot. And then once again, you have a really young running back room, and that puts you in a position where you need to go back to J.K. Dobbins, which is not a bad thing if he was healthy more.
Right. And if you're going to Dobbins, it's got to be with a role that, like, okay, maybe he ends up just being our third down guy. Like, he'd be such an upgrade over Tyler Bidet if that's your third down guy.
He's coming back, and you're not a fan of him.
Yeah, I'm just not, because there's no production. I can't have a guy on a roster that when an offense needs a boost, with only thing he does is block well. Like, I don't need that. I need a guy that blocks well and is a threat in the passing game. Like, we can't have these one-dimensional players. You got the Troutmans like that. You've got, you could go across their offense where it's like average. Like, this is why they weren't good for all those years. When I used to look across and say, of 22 starters, how many of the Broncos would you take over the opponent? And for long stretches, it was like 3 or 4 guys, sometimes 2. Now it's way bigger because of their defense. There's like 6 guys on their defense, or 7. You take over anyone else's defense every week. So, again, could you go cheap with Algier? My concern is if you bring in someone like that, he's going to get caught into a platoon with Harvey. And then here we go again. And then Sean can't decide which one he likes. And maybe Davis Webb helps that decision. But they just have to get more production with it. They're already doing this at receiver. That's kind of my argument. They're doing it at tight end, where mashing it together. They're looking at receiver. 3 of these receivers equals a really good pack with Cortland Sutton. How about just get a true number 2? Our running back committee. It's like, you can't be a committee in everything. It's not Washington, D.C. At some point, positions, you need to point to it and say, that's the guy. That's why I want him to go out and get a big name running back. So when he comes in, it's very clear he's the starter. Not, if everything goes right, he might play 42% of the snaps. Like, please, go away. Miss me with that.
Well, let's say it's Rico Dowdle. Does he come in as the definite number 1? We know it would be with Walker. It would more than likely be with Etienne.
I don't think so. I think he'd come in and they'd say it's a camp competition with Harvey. That's my guess. Could he beat out Harvey? Sure, he could. I'm just saying my guess is with Algier or Dowdle that it would be a competition for 1. Maybe it's a competition in name only, but it wouldn't be with Etienne. He's the guy, right? I mean, it's like no question he's the guy. So just like when you got Talanoa Hufanga, it was like PJ Locke was there, but there was no question he was coming in to start. Like, that's what I want. A guy you get and go, yeah, that's our guy. Plug and play right there, and have more depth behind him. That's fine. I don't have an issue with that. You're not going to have a bell cow the way this offense runs, but the main running back has to be on the field the most, not 45% of the time. That's just not going to get them where they need to go offensively for me, Eric.
I'll give you another reason why they desperately need to get Etienne or Walker, because the Chiefs are going to get one of them.
Yeah, I agree.
And you look at the Texans, they desperately needed help at the running back position. They feel they addressed it with Montgomery. They probably gave up more than I think a lot of teams would have given up. But look at the team in your own conference, or I should say in your own division that you are competing with. And I think that adds another ingredient to the pot of gumbo on why it is so important. And would you say finding a running back, I believe it is their number 1 priority. And I don't want to be hyperbolic by saying, is it by far and away their number 1 priority? But can you make that case?
You can, if you're not in the market for a receiver. And as far as we can tell, they're not in the market for a big name tight end. So again, we've talked all off season. It's a short off season, which has been wonderful. We haven't been talking draft since October. But if you're not in the market for an Njoku, if you're not in the market for an Alec Pierce, then it just streamlines this conversation of what's the one position that you really can address in the draft. And you brought it up, running back. Although I do like the guy, I think it's Roman Himby, your guy from Indiana. I like him as a late round pick. Yep. Not as a star. I'm just saying I like him in general as a 5th rounder. He's the kind of guy that you like on the roster, but not to come in and start. That's not what I'm saying. But if you keep we don't hear any. The conversation around receiver is: are you going to overpay for Alec Pierce? Are you going to overpay for Njoku? And so it doesn't feel that way. So it just keeps getting back to what is the one position you can kind of control through money. That's running back. And again, you mentioned it. The Chiefs offense, part of the reason they stunk last year is they had no run game, none. So with Patrick Mahomes coming back from knee surgery, I think they are going to be in the market for a big name back.
Yeah.
But they realize that you can't just, because they've tried to do it like Denver, just put anyone back there.
Yeah.
And Pacheco, again, he's kind of a nice player, but he's a complimentary piece, and he's hurt a lot. So how do you protect your quarterback? Have a guy you can hand the ball off, 20 times to, and that would make them better. They got other issues too, but that would significantly help Patrick Mahomes as he returns from knee surgery. You got Omar and Hampton in the division, and you also got Etienne Jr. I mean, like in your own division, you could see like if your starter's RJ Harvey and the Chiefs get ATN, the Chargers have Hampton, and the Raiders have Genty. For me, you have the fourth best back in your own division.
Right. All right. I don't want to, go overboard on this, and it might seem like a bit of a stretch. GM John Schneider is the guy who engineered the Russell Wilson trade from Seattle to Denver. He clearly knew things that George Payton did not. If the Broncos bring in Kenneth Walker, do you think that maybe Schneider knows something that other teams don't? And that's why they're willing to let him walk. And how much does that make you afraid that this could be Seattle punching the Broncos in the throat for the second time in 5 years? And oh, by the way, part of that Russell Wilson trade contributed to the Seahawks winning a Super Bowl.
Correct. I think you proceed with caution because you got burned. There's no way around it. You got burned. You bought the car and then you got it and like, oh my, this thing can't go up the mountains. The tire, the transmission and the carburetor backfires. All these things I didn't know. It's like that famous line from Vacation with Eugene Levy. He's like, with the family truckster, you hate it now. You think you hate it now? Wait till you drive it.
Right. Right.
It was kind of the opposite with Wilson. You think you like him now? Yeah, wait till you drive it. You're gonna love this car. Right. I think it's different just because the teams value the running back position differently. It's easier to see this as just we won a Super Bowl. We've got other priorities. We feel like we can save money at running back because most teams, in fairness to the Seahawks, whether we think Schneider, he clearly pulled one over on the Broncos. Yeah. Most teams aren't going to pay a running back $14 million a year.
Right.
They're just not. I mean, those are the elite of the elite. Now, I think people realize that the best teams have great running backs. Derrick Henry, Christian McCaffrey. I mean, you go down these lists of everyone tried to tell me running backs don't matter. And every time I look into the playoffs, the best teams have, even James Cook for the Bills, the best teams have really good running backs for the most part. Yeah. Saquon Barkley, obviously, with the Eagles 2 years ago. So don't tell me they don't matter because they do. But I don't think this applies. I don't think it's apples to apples, but I like where your head's at. If you're the Broncos and you're all in on a Seahawks player, it might be time to step away from the screen before we step away from the contract. Let's ask ourselves, why is this guy available?
Yeah, hire a couple of private investigators to really find out what's going on. It'll be a lot cheaper than a huge contract. With that, Russell Wilson was recently on a podcast, and he responded verbally this time for the first time since Sean Payton said that he hoped the Giants wouldn't replace Wilson with rookie Jaxon Dart earlier this season in a game that the Broncos won.
In the last couple of years, we've had a little bit of jumping around Broncos, the situation, which I'm going to read the tweet because, buddy, I'll be honest with you, that's fucking awesome.
What tweet?
Oh, yeah, I'll read the tweet. This is the tweet that you put out. Classless, ... but not surprised. Didn't realize you're still bounty hunting 15 plus years later through the media. Now, to put a tweet like that is like very humanizing. When I saw that tweet, I'm like, dude, this is fucking badass.
In that Russell Wilson bites back. I don't say much. I never hardly ever say anything. I think there's a time and place. But sometimes you get fatigued of people talking about you. You just say, obviously, like you mentioned, we're all human, but it's one thing for people that maybe aren't in the field or aren't, people say bots or whatever, talking. Like, I don't worry about that stuff. Like that never. But to me, when you've been in the ring or you've been on the same side of this and that, and I got the same amount of rings as you got, meaning Sean. Listen, I got a lot of respect for him as a play caller, this and that. But to take a shot, I don't like. I don't think it's necessary, especially when I'm not even on your own team anymore. So for me, I've realized I've stayed quiet for so long. There's a time and place where I'm not. For me, I know who I am as a competitor, as a warrior, as a champion too. I've beaten Sean too. Like we've been on the same place and same thing. And so it's not a matter of disrespect. Just don't disrespect me.
I'll tell you something. Even if I disagreed with Russell Wilson 100% on what he just said, dude, respect. Because this isn't the Russell Wilson I remember in Denver, who would speak his mind, where you're like, okay, he's not bullshitting us, and he's not trying to, pump the tires of this guy and pump the tires of this guy, because you knew what he was saying was disingenuous.
Listen, everything he said was fantastic.
Yeah.
It would have been way cooler if he had said it 2 years ago or a year ago, things like this. In his time in Denver in 2 years, he had 2 authentic moments that I covered in press. One, he pulled me over to his locker after a loss in Kansas City, where he was completely baffled at what one of their linemen did, and just like, can you freaking believe this? And that was just he and I talking. And the second one was Parker Gabriel and I went up to him and been like, do you want to talk about what Sean's saying and being released? And that press conference was very similar to this, where it was like, that's the Russell I knew when he was with the Rockies back in like 2012.
Right.
The Russell that was here was AI Russell. Yeah. No personality. There was not a human bone in his body. He would do these press conferences, like you said, and recite the other team's whole roster on every guy he ever played with. It was and make us wait 2.5 hours for it and to hear nothing, like nothing of substance ever. They had the worst offense in the league that year for 12 straight weeks, and oh man, things are getting so we're on it. Oh, you can't imagine how hard. I mean, it was just give me a break. That said, I respect what he said. He's 100% right. Sean took a shot at him. He took a shot back. Why so delayed? That's a little weird. Maybe it's because of the format of a podcast. And he felt like, because now it's been that was months ago. That was during the Giants post-game press conference after London. So that was in October. Yeah. It's March. But I'm like you. I respect it. I think he's totally right. It's totally fair. This is who Sean is. He takes shots. Guys usually take shots back. I just wish this version of Russell had played for the Broncos and had the courage to go at Sean Payton when he played for him, because he didn't. He just took it.
Right. And I think players on the team lost respect for him as well. Now, let's turn it around to Payton. I know this doesn't happen all the time, and I'm only citing 3 examples. Why do you think Payton says things that piss so many people off? Let's start with when he first got here. He did that interview with Jared Bell and pretty much pissed off everybody in the organization because he took shots at pretty much everybody. That was in his honeymoon period. He basically pushed his new bride over a cliff as they were hiking in Costa Rica. Then you have what recently happened with the whole Bo Nix situation about the injury. And then, of course, you have the Russell Wilson thing that Russ was obviously just talking about. There are other examples as well. So does Sean have a major filter problem or just not have one at all?
He just doesn't care. He's arrogant. He's confident. He loves taking shots. He loves to create a little bit of drama. He's the kind of guy that kind of likes to start the fire and then put it out. He talks about it in his book he had about, creating drama and creating friction and challenges to motivate. And sometimes it's manufactured. In some cases, I think Sean does push buttons like that. In some cases, just Sean. He's just that confident. He doesn't care what you think. He's going to say it. He's going to offend people. It's who he is. I mean, he's just that guy. When he's done it with his own quarterback, we're all like, really? I mean, is that necessary? I've said that. Like, that's just unnecessary. But Sean likes it. It's who Sean is. Now, with some players, does it drive him batty? I'm sure it does. Some of them then appreciate it later on, like our coach had our back and he's constantly. That's the weird dynamic with Sean. If you ask in the locker room when they're winning, they love it. They love that he's out there taking shots. And I've had literally Eric players say to me, he says things we all want to say. We love it. But then when things aren't going smoothly, you're like, what in the F is our coach doing? Why is he creating drama? So again, it's just I don't really discourage it. It's who Sean is. And I just do think there's times it's unnecessary.
Yeah.
It's not, I didn't have any issue with him going at Hackett. Zero. I had none.
Wait. You can go after Hackett. You just don't say it how you say it. At the end of the day, if somebody's overweight, you don't say you're fat. You're right. They are overweight. I get it. But sometimes I think it is important to have a filter. And let's be honest here. I'm not telling you something that you don't know. I'm not going to start reciting stories to you because you probably know some of the same stories that I do. Sean would not win any popularity contest in that building. He would certainly win more in the locker room than he would outside of the locker room, but it's all in the same building. If you win, chances are you are going to keep your job. But has he put himself in a position where if it's a questionable call and the tie goes to the runner, and the tie goes to the runner means you keep your job, do you think he has put himself in a position potentially that if his team doesn't perform because of who he is as a person inside that building, the tie is not going to go to the runner and he might be looking for new work? And I understand I'm painting that with a very broad brush, but you know exactly what I mean.
Yeah, I just don't think he cares. And it's so far off right now. The only thing that's going to bring it to an inflection point is because he's won a lot. He's done everything. He's exceeded expectations. How he does it is uncomfortable and cringy at times to some people, no doubt. But unless this year they go out and go 7-10 with then his contract coming up, I don't think it's an issue. And now that's the one way it could become an issue. But as long as he wins, they don't seem to care what it looks like right now. They don't. Again, if he throws out a 7-10 and Bo Nix regresses and Davis Webb leaves, and is Sean going to be now it gets weird. Or if they do great and you view Davis Webb as a head coaching candidate, I'm just not of the mind right now. When I watch the job Adelman's doing, I've watched Jared Bednar flunk out in the playoffs. I'm not going to get overly critical of Sean Payton for turning around a freaking dumpster fire.
Right.
Everyone does. There's so many people that don't like him, and I get it. I'm out there. People ask me that all the time. But I remove myself from it. It's not personal. I see a team that's winning and a guy who's built a culture. Does he do it in a way I would do it? In the way he communicates with people? I don't think so. But again, he's winning. And I will always go back to this. If there was social media during the Mike Shanahan era, he would have viewed dramatically differently than he is now. He's not that dissimilar to Sean. And I covered both and was out there every day for both of them. One had social media and tries to make fun of reporters and get snappy. You didn't see that with Shanahan because it didn't exist. That's why I kind of laugh at it that every coach suddenly before Sean Payton was a saint at the Broncos. Give me a break. It's just not true.
I think Shanahan had far more of a filter. And it's not even close. Far more of a filter.
I don't think so.
He never would have talked to Jarrett Bell.
So Shanahan's the same guy that made fun of Terrell Davis for coming out of games and questioned his ability to play hurt after a game and caused a rift with their relationship. Shanahan's the same one that turned an entire locker room against him by playing Jay Cutler and benching Jake Plummer. This is what I'm saying.
But hold on.
Everyone wants to say that everything was done perfectly before. It wasn't.
I was there. I was in the locker room in Kansas City when it happened. So when it comes to that was a football decision.
He totally screwed up because he didn't know Jake Plummer.
I understand that.
And he turned an entire locker room against him.
I understand that. But
while they were winning.
Listen, if you want to talk about that, let's go back to where it all began. When, first of all, Mike Shanahan barely even knew Jay Cutler when they drafted Jay Cutler. I don't know if anybody really knew who Jay Cutler was as a person before they drafted him because they didn't want anyone to smell the scent on the trail that they were possibly going to draft him. They were never around this guy. That was mistake number one. Number two, Shanahan wasn't a big fan of Plummer. He felt Plummer loved to play, but Plummer didn't like to practice. He also felt about Jake Plummer, he couldn't run the entire playbook that Shanahan wanted to run. This was going to eventually happen. I think the team was something like 7-3 when they went into Kansas City, or 7-4, whatever it was. The mistake that Mike Shanahan made was multiple on this. He did not understand the temperature of the locker room, but he didn't care. He felt he had a better quarterback in Jay Cutler. He didn't rip Jake Plummer publicly. He just said, I feel we have a better chance to win with Jay Cutler. And honestly, who was a better physical quarterback? Who had more talent in theory? And I'm only talking about measurables. It was certainly Jay Cutler. Jay Cutler was the more physically gifted quarterback. And yes, Jake Plummer certainly had the room. But for Mike Shanahan, he wanted to win games. And yes, he ignored the temperature of the room. But that is not talking about somebody's injuries. That is not going to USA Today and blasting the organization. That is not going after a former player. That was a huge miscalculation. But that wasn't, this guy has no filter. The mistake that Shanahan made was he broke it with his buddy, Adam Schefter. He leaked it to the media, and that's how the players found out. To me,
I know, but he did the same thing with Greasy over Bubby Brister. He did the same thing questioning Terrell Davis's toughness with injuries. He embarrassed Byron Chamberlain and made him run around the outside of the perimeter of the practice field until he threw up in front of players. My point is this idea that Payton is that different. He's not. He really isn't. He isn't. And I respect both of them. They both are Hall of Fame coaches. I just think we get caught up in Peyton's arrogant. Wait for one thing and let's get him out of town. For what? For who? This is what I don't understand. Everyone is in a race for Payton to lose so they can get him fired. For what? Davis Webb at 32 years old to take over the Broncos? I'm just not in a rush to see that. I watched it post Kubiak. It was awful, and it was in large part the coaching was jacked up. It was. It didn't change. If everyone's ownership, that helps. It does. The coaching got him out of this. So I'm willing to deal with a lot of crap because I saw what it looked like with Vance Joseph, with Vic Fangio, with Nathaniel Hackett. I just don't think people really understand what they want when they're trying to run Payton out of town.
I'm not trying to run Payton out of town.
Everyone is in this market. Everyone wants him to fail. And I get it. And
why?
Because they don't like him.
Right.
And I don't care. It's not personal with me. I don't understand why, as a media member, people get personal that I don't like him. I want him fired. Based on what? Because you don't like a response he gave you? You don't like how he embarrassed the guy at a press conference? Now, if inside the ownership, they feel that way, that's their prerogative. If they don't like it, they can do whatever they want. He is their employee. I just don't understand some of the media fascination with, I don't like Payton. I hope he does something until he gets fired. So what?
Well, I think that's silly because, to your point, he has turned around the culture. This franchise is in much better shape today than it was when he turned it before he got here. He's done a lot of really, really good things, and I'm with you on that. I'm not talking about me in the media. I'm talking about how people feel about him in that building. And you know exactly what I'm talking about. But
the people that matter it's not reached that. Greg Penner likes the way Sean Payton runs the team.
And that's where it begins and ends.
Right. As long as Greg is comfortable with it.
That again. That's where it begins and ends. Greg Penner does make the final decision.
Right. And Greg is happy with Sean Payton.
He is married to Carrie. Carrie's decision matters too, but Greg's matters the most.
And if they're winning and the way it's happening right now, Greg is comfortable with it. Maybe that changes. Maybe it does. 2 years, 3, whenever. I don't know. It happens all the time in sports. Everyone loved Michael Malone, and a couple years later, it was like, oh my God, we can't envision another day with he and Booth working together, and they had won a championship. It happens. I get it. I just people have to understand, because you don't like Sean Payton, not you, but in general,
Right.
that's not cause for change. Cause for change is terrible organization, completely disorganized, completely dysfunctional, basically everything we saw post Kubiak. I don't want to go back to that. I don't want to go back to that and watch that, because that is just so derelict of duties, complete incompetence. I covered the Rockies for 15 years. I have a PhD in what incompetence looks like. I don't need to see running off a Hall of Fame football coach because he gets snippy in the media.
Yeah, I don't care about that stuff. I mean, I've said to you before, nothing's ever personal with me. I despise Todd Helton, yet I would still vote for him to be in the Hall of Fame. Listen,
I've had that with Kurt Schilling. I had it with Schilling, and I voted for him. So again, it shouldn't be personal. That's not our job. No. The audience doesn't care what those people think of us in that way. They don't.
All I'm saying is, when you act like that, you're not the tie will not go to the runner. You're not going to get the benefit of the doubt. We're talking about two totally different things here.
You're right.
There guys in the media that want Sean Payton fired? I don't give a fuck what they think. Look what the team's doing. They just went to the AFC Championship game.
Right.
They drafted Bo Nix. They have a great defense. Vance Joseph is still the defensive coordinator. Sean Payton said, okay, I'll give up play calling duties, give it to Davis Webb. He's done a lot of very good things. It's just he's not very well liked inside and outside of that building. But if you don't continue to win, if you continue acting like this, you're going to be fired faster, as opposed to there will be more grace with you if you have a down year. Coming up after the break, you wrote a terrific column about Chase Dollander, and we talked about it a little bit yesterday on the show. What I want to get into is the last thing that he said in your column, which I found to be fascinating, but you and I have talked to thousands of athletes. We'll tell you what Dollander said, but what I'm curious to know, Troy, is this. Was it player speak with what he said to you, or do you think he really believes what he said? That's next. Everyone has their favorite sports bar. Mine, the Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch, DTC, and now in Parker. All their locations are everything a sports bar should be. An upscale menu with 12 different burgers, outstanding wings, and my favorite, the Philly cheesesteak egg rolls. They've got every game on the NFL Sunday Ticket, MLB Extra Innings, NHL Center Ice, NBA League Pass, plus soccer, rugby, and UFC. Sportsbook, great hangout bar, great for private parties. The Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch, DTC, and now in Parker. They are the sports bar.
Ferguson's Heating and Cooling is the best in Denver, and their customers agree. Ferguson's has 165 5-star Google reviews, and here's one from Betsy. Highly professional, prompt, and honest. I switched to Ferguson's when I became aware my former company was trying to sell me a whole new system I didn't need. Ferguson's is an honest, working, family-owned business that'll give you a fair price, the highest quality parts and equipment, and they always show up on time. You can trust the Ferguson family like you trust your own family. Go to fergusonsheatingandcooling.com.
Everyone has their favorite barbecue spot. Mine, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew. My favorites, slowly smoked ribs, smoked corned beef Reuben, smoked meatloaf with a portobello balsamic cream sauce. Don't forget about Smokin' Dave's 16-hour smoked brisket and pork with one of their 4 homemade barbecue sauces. Great sides, you bet. Barbecue beans made with pork and brisket and their southern corn bake. Man, you got to try it. Plus, they have amazing non-barbecue entrees on the menu. Go where I go, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew in North Denver.
Ever wondered where city and county fleet vehicles go when they retire? Now's your chance to find out and score big. Imagine driving away with a great deal on a reliable vehicle. For over 45 years, Roller Auction has been the trusted source for government fleet vehicles and equipment. Trucks, SUVs, sedans, and more, all selling to the highest bidder. Don't miss out. Visit roller.bid/hot takes to get auction updates today. Your next vehicle could be just a click away.
Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos in Black Hawk have another incredible promotion. They'll be giving away a Ford Maverick Tremor truck or nearly $25,000 in cash the weekend of May 16th. Earn daily entries with every locked up jackpot or by redeeming points on your player card. You can also earn a chance to win during their daily cash drawings every 45 minutes between 10 a.m. and midnight. Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos, loose slots, great promotions, great food, and a family-owned casino that treats you like family.
Everyone has their favorite barbecue spot. Mine, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew. My favorites, slowly smoked ribs, smoked corned beef Reuben, smoked meatloaf with a portobello balsamic cream sauce. Don't forget about Smokin' Dave's 16-hour smoked brisket and pork with one of their 4 homemade barbecue sauces. Great sides, you bet. Barbecue beans made with pork and brisket and their southern corn bake. Man, you got to try it. Plus, they have amazing non-barbecue entrees on the menu. Go where I go, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew in North Denver. And welcome back, Hot Takes. Goodman and Renck. Want to tell you about Ferguson's Heating and Cooling. They are fantastic at what they do. I've worked with them for a long time. They came out and fixed our hot water heater. We called them at like 8 in the morning. They were here at 10 o'clock in the morning. Bang. We finally had hot showers, which was great. We had a problem with our furnace and called them at like 8 o'clock in the morning. They were here at 10 o'clock in the morning. They didn't sell us a new furnace. They fixed it. It's very easy to sell you something new. Remember, when guys come out to fix, they are also salespeople as well. They know they're going to make more money if they sell you something you don't need. That is not the way Ferguson's Heating and Cooling works. Cannot recommend them enough. Ferguson's Heating and Cooling.com. Time now for What's Trending.
What's Trending is presented by Ferguson's Heating and Cooling. Your family should trust the Ferguson family for all your heating and cooling needs, and you'll see why they have over 165 5-star Google reviews. Make an appointment today at fergusonsheatingandcooling.com.
Troy, you just got back from Rockies spring training yesterday. You wrote a terrific column on pitcher Chase Dollander, but the thing that stuck out to me the most in your column was how Dollander sees the new direction of the franchise, in which he said, and I am quoting, "It's a breath of fresh air with all the new guys coming in. And it started from the top down when we hired DePodesta and Burns. Those two guys are incredibly smart and incredibly good at their job. With the addition of Schaefer and all the hitting and pitching coaches, what isn't there to be excited about? We have new ideas, new plans. The times are changing here, and it's going to be a lot of fun. You and I have stood in front of thousands of athletes. We know when we're getting players speak, coach speak, and we know when we are getting the truth. Do you believe Dollander really believes what he told you?"
I do, because it's not just new faces. It's a completely new approach. They've embraced analytics. Analytics were part of baseball for almost 12 years before now the Rockies finally have cell phones and know how to use AirDrop, and they know how to use wireless. That's how far behind they are. People think I'm joking about this. They were living in the dark ages as it related to data and information to make players better. And so they hired all these people, starting with Depot and Josh Burns, who brought in people who can interpret the data. They hired coaches they believe can help basically disseminate it in a way that makes and boosts performance. A guy like Chase Dollander was using this at Tennessee, Eric. So he comes to the big leagues and goes backwards. Like, can you imagine? It's like when, guys come from the SEC and go to the Bengals. Like, what the hell? We have to buy a practice jersey and socks? Like, this is how it was. So he does believe it. Now, again, the issue now becomes execution. Now you have the information available to you. You have the study guide. Can you read it and make yourself better? And that's what we don't know yet. But man, was it. They had music going the whole time I was in there in the clubhouse. After that, it was just the vibes different. What is that going to mean? I don't know. I just know at least they're on the playing field. It's not a level one, but at least they're on the playing field, Eric.
It's almost like some in the front office before the new front office said, there's this movie Moneyball. It's really interesting. And then you go, it came out in 2011. It was up for Best Picture. What are you talking about? And they have seen it for the first time. And you're like, where have you been? Right?
But the technology they were using in the data was 03. DePodesta was the GM of the Dodgers almost 25 years ago using these same tactics. And the Rockies are now just fully embracing them. And I'm not going to keep making fun of them. I have to take shots just to give people context. But the reality is now they're using it. So let's see what it looks like. And it's going to take a while. But at least you feel like the approach is sound. It makes sense.
They feel like they have a chance, right? It's like going into a rowing competition in the Olympics and they give you one oar and you find yourself going in circles and you're like, I'm working as hard as I can, but I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, it's like if you were doing the Tour de France on a stationary bike. A lot of expended injury. Man, I'm killing it on here. Yeah, you're on a Peloton, man. We're not actually in the Alps here, Ace. But that's kind of what it feels like, and is that they've turned the corner. And it's not just with pitching; it's hitting as well.
Yeah.
They brought in people who embrace it. Now, again, the key is you don't want to overwhelm. You don't want paralysis by analysis. You have to figure out which guy you individualize and customize their learning plans. And then it's on the player to have the aptitude to take it in and make it work.
All right, that's going to do it for us. Hot Takes, Goodman and Renck. Make it the best possible day you can.